Good morning. My name is Cesar Espinosa, and I'm Executive Director of FIEL. Today we are here on, I would like to call this a joyous occasion, but it's a mixed feeling occasion because, on the one hand, we are happy that SB4 has been stopped from taking into effect on March 5th. On the other hand, we want to make sure that we caution everybody and that we remind ourselves that we still have a long road ahead when it comes to this issue on SB4. What happened on just yesterday was that a federal judge gave a preliminary injunction to keep SB4 from taking into effect. That does not mean that the law has gone away. What this means is that this is now more than likely going to go to the circuit courts and then eventually make its way, after appeals and arguments and things like that, make its way to the Supreme Court. There's three things that we want to point out today. Number one is that we want to make sure that the community is still proactively looking for know your rights trainings, looking for ways in which they can protect themselves. Number two is that we continue to find ways in which we can stop laws like SB4 from taking into effect. And number three, that we remind everybody in the community, in politics, everywhere, is that words matter. So how we refer to immigrants during these times, how we categorize immigrants at this time, in which light which we paint immigrants at this time can have consequences. So we want to make sure that we are joined today by many partners, many supporters, and we want to make sure that we send a message out that we continue to not stand for SB4 and that we would want SB4 to go away. And I'll make a brief comment in Spanish. Mi nombre es César Espinosa y soy director ejecutivo de FIEL. Estamos aquí hoy en un día semidulce. Por parte, estamos contentos de que la ley SB4 no se le dio la oportunidad de tomar efecto el 5 de marzo, pero por otros lados queremos entender y que la comunidad entienda que esto no es el final. Esto es un primer paso de un largo tiempo legal a donde va a haber apelaciones, va a haber cuestiones que los van a llevar a las Cortes de Circuito y eventualmente pensamos que esta ley va a terminar en la Corte Suprema. Nosotros no apoyamos a la ley SB4 ya que creemos que es un gasto de recursos y una manera más de perseguir a la comunidad inmigrante. Por otra parte, queremos recordarle a todos los políticos y a todas las personas que están ahí que las palabras importan. Cómo se refieren a los inmigrantes, en qué luz nos pintan y cómo se expresan nosotros, eventualmente puede causar mucho daño. Queremos tener eso en mente mientras que platicamos hoy de lo que es la SB4 y de las reacciones que vamos a tener o que tuvimos en términos de la ley que no tomó efecto el 5 de marzo. Una de las cosas que nos preocupa es que mucha gente ayer malentendió este reglamento y básicamente estaban clamando victoria y diciendo que ya no había una SB4. La ley todavía existe y ahora es a las cortes que lo decidan qué es lo que sigue y cuándo es que se tomaría efecto si es que algún día tome efecto. One of the things we do want to caution folks is yesterday we had a lot of messages on social media all over. People were elated that this is happening and we are happy as well, but we want to make sure that people understand that there's still a process ahead of us and we must make sure that we remain vigilant and we remain ready whether or not there is an SB4. So to get us started today, I'm going to bring up my good friend first we're going to bring our staff attorney, Roberto Quijano, and he's going to explain to you guys a little bit of the legal aspect of it, and we do ask that questions be held to the end. So Roberto Quijano, staff attorney with FIEL.
Okay, good afternoon. As Cesar said, it's mixed feelings. This is a great legal victory for immigrants in Texas. Basically, the Judge Estra stopped the law for going into effect on March 5th, but that does, even yesterday, Ken Paxton already filed an appeal to the Fifth Circuit Court, so this case now goes to the Fifth Circuit, where the court will rule if the preliminary injunction is valid and also if SB4 is constitutional. So we have to wait on that ruling from the Fifth Circuit. The preliminary injunction could be overruled, and the law could still go into effect. but whatever happens, probably both sides will appeal anyways. So even if the people fighting against SB4 or fighting for SB4, they will appeal to the Supreme Court, and that's where we believe this case is going to end up. Es una victoria legal grande para los inmigrantes en Texas lo que sucedió ayer. Sin embargo, como dijo César, esto no se detiene acá. Ya Ken Paxton sometió una apelación al quinto circuito y ahora queda esperar. Ellos van a decidir tanto si el bloqueo de esta ley temporal que emitió el juez ayer es legal y si la ley SB4 como tal es constitucional como tal. Entonces tenemos que esperar a ver qué va a decir el quinto circuito. La ley puede ser que entre en efecto si el quinto circuito dice que el bloqueo de la ley no es legal. Y hay que seguir peleando porque probablemente no importa lo que pase, ya sea el quinto circuito sea a favor de Texas o sea en contra de los derechos inmigrantes, esta ley va a terminar en la Corte Suprema de Justicia y vamos a ver cómo se disputa esta lucha ahí.
Thank you. And now we're going to bring up a good friend of ours in the Texas State Legislature. He has been fighting for this law, against this law. He's spoken up, and he's a good friend of FIEL. We're going to bring up State Representative John Rosenthal.
Thank you. My name is John Rosenthal. Mi nombre es John Rosenthal. I am the Texas State Representative for House District 135. I'm grateful to FIEL for hosting this. I'm going to ask my friend Cesar to translate for me because I want this to be heard in both languages.
Mi nombre es John Rosenthal y le voy a pedir, y estoy agradecido con FIEL que tuvo esto hoy y voy a preguntarle a César si puede traducir para mí.
Thank you. So today, I'm grateful to Judge David Ezra for the temporary pause in enacting this law.
Hoy estoy agradecido con el juez Ezra por poner un paro temporal a esta ley.
And I'm very concerned overall because, as the judge said, this law can have grave and irreversible consequences.
Pero a la misma vez estoy preocupado porque, como dijo el juez, esta ley puede tener graves y problemas que no pueden ser solucionados después.
And as I've said all along, the law is not only unconstitutional, it's morally reprehensible. It's completely wrong, and it demonizes immigrants, and it encourages profiling.
Y como lo he dicho desde el principio, no solamente siento que esta ley es anticonstitucional, pero siento que es moralmente incorrecta. Esto criminaliza y demoniza a la comunidad inmigrante.
Perfect. And so while I'm grateful today, we cannot pause in our fight. We must continue to stand against these kind of actions where the politics is designed to demonize other human beings for the benefit and political gain of leaders in the state. We simply cannot stop fighting against that as long as it's happening.
Y aunque estoy contento hoy, no podemos parar hoy, no tenemos que estar en contra de todas aquellas personas que usen este tipo de leyes para demonizar y agravar a la comunidad inmigrante para su propio beneficio político.
Perfect. I'm John Rosenthal. I'm grateful you have heard my voice today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Representative Rosenthal. We will now have, as always, we count on partners not only from the state but also from the city, and we will now have Mr. Councilmember Martinez come up and say a few words about how he feels about this and how he is. And we also, I want to take this moment to publicly congratulate him for his, he just got on council, and we're very proud that he's there representing the Latino community, representing all of us.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Joaquin Martinez, and I'm your District I City Council member. Buenos días, mi nombre es Joaquín Martínez y soy su concejal por el Distrito I. Y lo que quiero hablar de hoy es el mismo mensaje que todos están diciendo hoy, que el trabajo todavía no se acaba, right? I want to make sure that there's the common theme is that the work is not done yet. There's still work to be done, and there's still folks that need to be prepared. Todavía nuestra comunidad necesita preparar, y de parte de la ciudad, de parte de mi oficina, quiero decirles que estamos listos también para que podamos apoyar y soportar nuestra comunidad en cualquier metas que podamos entre clases para que se puedan saber qué son los derechos. My office at the City of Houston and partners want to make sure that we're here to work with you as well, and we are looking to have also workshops that can speak to know your rights. I had a good friend, State Representative Armando Wally. He shared some very frustrating words at the Capitol. Tengo un amigo, el representante Armando Wally, que en Austin estaba compartiendo también unos palabras que estaba frustrado también, ¿verdad? Y and so in that same kind of tone, and we're here. Aquí estamos. We're here to stand with our community to make sure that they know that Houston will continue to be a welcoming city. Queremos decirles que la ciudad de Houston siempre va a ser un lugar donde puedas llegar. We understand that the economic drivers are immigrant. The workforce drivers are immigrant as well. And quiero decirles también que sí sabemos que nuestra economía, pero también la de trabajar también, son inmigrantes que están aquí en Houston. And so I want to thank FIEL, Cesar, a really good friend of mine. Quiero decirle a Cesar, un amigo muy que lo conozco de muchos años también, que aquí estamos para parar con ustedes mano y mano para que podamos seguir a tener el mismo voz que este lugar. Vamos a pelear también para los inmigrantes. I just wanted to let Cesar know, he's a dear friend of mine, that we're here to stand alongside with them, with FIEL, of course with the state rep as well, that we're here to fight for you. Those new immigrants that have been here, folks like my mom, who is an immigrant from San Luis Potosí, those faces are our faces. Las caras de como mi mamá son las caras de nuestra comunidad, y aquí estamos para parar con ustedes también. Muchas gracias. Thank you.
And in all of this, obviously, we have people that are relying on their faith to get through this, and we want to welcome now Pastor Julio Barquero to give a few remarks.
Gracias. Muy buenos días. Estamos un poco preocupados, pero también a la vez contentos porque tenemos estas organizaciones como FIEL que están siempre atentas para convocar, para traer pensamiento.
We are happy to be here. At the same time, we're also concerned, but we're happy to have organizations like FIEL be present to be able to bring people together.
Como representante de la comunidad de fe aquí en Houston, estamos preocupados por esta ley.
As a representative of the faith community here in Houston, we are worried about this law.
Y el lenguaje que se está manejando hace años en este país no habla bien de lo que se quiere en este país, de la cultura de este país, del corazón de este país.
And the rhetoric that has been spilled in the last couple of years is not what we want to see in this country, is not what we believe this country is about, and it is not something that we believe stands for American ideals.
Y también nuestros líderes políticos están haciendo mal con este tipo de leyes.
And we also feel that our politicians are doing bad with these types of laws.
Para mí, Greg Abbott es un Herodes tejano.
For me, Greg Abbott is a Texan Herodes.
Está persiguiendo a la comunidad hispana.
He is going after the immigrant community.
Queremos entonces decirles que estamos aquí para servir, también para orientar, y agradezco mucho a estas organizaciones como a FIEL y a todos ellos que están acá, que se han hecho presentes. Gracias de verdad, porque eso demuestra que estamos preocupados y que queremos soluciones.
So we want to thank everybody who's here. We also want to thank FIEL for bringing us together because this shows that there's people like us who are worried about what's happening.
Gracias, César.
Thank you.
Bendiciones.
Thank you. Okay, and then finally, we will have Miss Brenda Hernandez. She's going to come up and speak as an affected individual. En lo que se sienta más cómodo y ya
Ok, en
después
español.
de ellos lo pueden
Buenos
traducir.
días, yo estoy aquí también, ¿verdad? Porque estamos alegres porque esa ley que es la SB4 nos afecta a todos los latinos, porque todos somos inmigrantes en este estado de Texas. El temor que teníamos es porque nosotros tenemos hijos y en esa manera nos afecta. Creo que la comunidad hispana es cuando más nos debemos de unir en esta causa, no solamente cuando necesitamos o haya desastres en el estado de Texas. Creo que todo el tiempo tenemos que hacerlo, unirnos, porque nos afecta de una y de otra forma. Y yo le doy gracias a Dios que ahorita está bloqueada, pero pienso también, así como César dice, tenemos que seguir uniéndonos y pidiéndole más que nada a Dios que se quite totalmente, se elimine. Y aquí estoy yo por mis hijos también, ¿verdad? Porque me afecta eso. Yo estaba con ese temor y pidiéndole a Dios que algo hiciera, ¿verdad? Porque nos afecta de una y de otra forma. Y yo lo único que le pido a los políticos que están, que Texas es un lugar de inmigrantes. La mayoría somos inmigrantes y que se toquen ese corazón que tienen, si tienen familia, y que Dios les hablan del corazón. Y pienso que es cuando más la comunidad tenemos que unirnos y seguir adelante. Ok, es todo.
So, as an affected individual, basically she's calling for community unity, and this would not only affect her, but for children as well. She's here for her children, to make sure that remind politicians that these laws have consequences in many levels, and so she wants to make sure that she gets that out. Thank you, Ms.
Okay,
Menda.
thank you.
Gracias. So, like I said, we are cautiously optimistic that SB4 has been stopped at this moment, but we know that there is a long road ahead. We hope to continue with the support of these partners of our community to make sure that we don't allow laws like SB4 to be the law of the land. We also want to remind people that whether there is an SB4 or not, we want to make sure that people know their rights, that they are prepared to face immigration at any point, especially if they don't have status. So queremos especialmente agradecer a las personas que nos acompañan hoy. Esperamos continuar mano a mano con ellos porque sabemos que esta lucha todavía no tiene un fin y puede postergarse. Y a la misma vez le queremos recordar a la comunidad que se continúa a preparar porque haya o no haya una SB4. Tenemos que estar listos para cualquier momento que podamos enfrentar inmigración o la policía. Finally, I would like to remind especially Pastor Ed Young, who made terrible comments in the last week, that Jesus was an immigrant. And so when we put out hate like that into our community, we're only fanning the flames of hatred, and that has no place whether you're at church or anywhere else in this country. So we want to remind Pastor Ed that Jesus was an immigrant, and as such, immigrants should be respected under the same light. A la misma vez quiero también tomar un momento de privilegio y recordarle al pastor Ed Young que Jesús era un inmigrante, que también buscó refugio. Y so cuando hablamos de los inmigrantes, como él habló este fin de semana, estamos hablando, atacando la misma fe que supuestamente nosotros profesamos. So, a la misma vez es importante que tengamos cautela con eso y que recordemos que si quieres, que si tú adoras a Dios, tienes que también tratar a tu prójimo con la misma luz. So with that, we'll take questions at this moment. If there's any questions, if not, then we will go ahead and conclude. Are there any questions that are had? ¿Alguna pregunta que tengamos hasta ahorita?
Will you talk a little bit about, we just heard from someone impacted, will you talk a little bit about why Houston in particular would be so affected by this?
Houston was considered a transitionary city, or a city of immigrants, meaning that a lot of immigrants either pass through here or are here, or and the sheer numbers show it. In recent studies that have been done, it's estimated that 1 in 10 immigrants is an undocumented immigrant, and 1 out of every 4 Houstonians could live in a mixed status family. What that means is that maybe they themselves are U.S. citizens, but their children or their parents may be undocumented immigrants. So it's important that we take all these things seriously and we take them to heart, because what affects that part of the community, if people were to, in theory, start massively leaving, that would affect our economy, that would affect our housing market. And so it could have a devastating and long-lasting impact, not only on the immigrant community, but the community overall.
What alternative solutions do you think would be more effective in addressing the issues of undocumented immigration and its potential impact on communities?
The only solution that exists, that we believe that exists at this moment, is to figure out a way to pass comprehensive immigration reform, and not in a way. We can't have it both ways. It can't either be what the Democrats want, what the Republicans want. There has to be dialogue from both parties, from everybody in this nation, to figure out a common sense solution that will not only address the current immigration issues that we have, but also address the economic issues, everything else, that will take everything into account. But until people are ready to sit down and dialogue, we're still going to be taking these political shots back and forth, and only continue to use the immigrant community as political ploys.
Can I add to that, please? When we talk about the impact to our communities that immigrants have, we need to talk about the overwhelmingly positive impact economically and to public safety. So it is well documented, and I'm an engineer by trade. Statistics are sort of my thing. Statistics show communities with higher immigrant populations are safer. There's lower levels of violent crime, and that is overall, and it is independent of the documentation status of the immigrants. Also, we're in a work shortage right now. So one of the economic drivers of everything for our society has to do with immigrant labor. And we all run into this, walk into it, shake hands with it every single day. And so when we talk in these sorts of terms about the impacts to our communities, until we have a comprehensive immigration reform package that does both, you have to be strong at the border, but you also have to have immigrant work visa programs, because without a balance of those things, we're taking away a vital part of our communities. And I speak about this so passionately because my district is almost half Latino. It's 47% voting age population, Hispanic and Hispanic surnames. So it's vitally important that we understand this issue from all perspectives.
And how would you respond to concerns that opposing measures like SB 4 would lead to increased risks with public safety?
Man, so we could probably we could talk about this all day.
Yes.
And this was exactly the floor debate that we had in the Texas House when we were talking about this bill, is that when immigrant communities, and especially mixed status families, are afraid to interact with law enforcement, that means when crime is happening, they're not reporting it. And one of the memorable moments in the floor fight was when we brought an amendment to the bill that was all the amendments that we brought were refused, but this one in particular, to exempt rape victims from being deported if they're reporting the crime of rape. And this was summarily voted down. So what it means is it gives license to rape undocumented immigrants, because they're not going to report because they're going to get deported. And so that's just one small slice. When people are afraid to interact with authorities and to interact with the police, it makes our communities inherently less safe. We need our communities to partner with police in order to lower violent crime and all crime. You want to add to that?
I just want to echo what Representative Rosenthal said, because on the one hand, we do a lot of work with police, with the sheriff's office, with other people to say, if you see a crime, if you're a victim of a crime, report it. And now this law does the exact opposite in creating the fear in people to not interact with law enforcement out of fear that they may be questioned about their status. The other point that I wanted to make sure that I made today, and now you reminded me of it, is the fact that here in Houston, we've seen HPD close crimes because they don't have enough people power to sometimes investigate or things like that. If we add another thing on top of an already stressed police force, it's only going to lead to bad things. And so at the end of the day, we also feel for officers. We thank the officers that are out there every single day working hard for our communities, but we also don't want to tax them with now becoming experts in immigration law, because our attorney will tell you that immigration law is not easy. And even now at this, with the experience that we've had, we still run into cases that are very complicated that you cannot make a decision on the street about. So with that, we'll go ahead and, yes, one more. Oh, una de las cosas que queremos recordar a la gente es que queremos hacerle eco a lo que dijo el representante Rosenthal, que si decimos a la policía, si decimos a la comunidad que interactúe con la policía, pero este tipo de leyes ahora hacen que la policía sea peligrosa para alguien en términos de su estatus, entonces está contradiciendo todo el trabajo que hemos hecho por años trabajando con la policía, con el sheriff, para asegurar que haya buena infraestructura y buena comunicación. Eso es importante. Y también una de las cosas que se nos preguntó hace poco es de que en los últimos días se ha hablado mucho de los casos que no han investigado la policía de Houston por falta de personal. Si les agregamos algo más arriba de eso, este número puede crecer, ya que se le está poniendo estrés a una infraestructura que ya no es muy buena para empezar. Yes.
I just wanted to see if you could add a little more clarity to the next steps in the legal process and how long that might take. I know you mentioned that action has already appealed, so I'm just interested to hear a little bit more about how long that could sort of take as it goes through the legal system. Obviously, SB4 is halted now. For now, how long are we kind of looking at that?
Does anybody want to take that? Take a stab at it. You want to take a stab at it, or because there's 1,000 answers.
I'll take a stab. I'm not sure I can answer. It is an emergency appeal in regards to injunction part. Anyone's best guess is good. As the next one, I'm assuming the Fifth Circuit might leave the emergency stay, the injunction in place, just because it's a very complicated legal issue. Just on its face, constitutionally, it's interfering with federal duties and federal law. The ruling was basically it was a two-part finding ruling where they made the constitutionality finding that the law was probably unconstitutional on the face, therefore it was enjoined, and also it shut down the argument that there was an invasion happening in Texas. So I do believe that this injunction is going to stay in place, and that might drag out the Fifth Circuit fight, and then even to get certiorari at the Supreme Court level, that might be dragged out. That come 2025, depending on what happens, this might all be moot because we're going to be facing another political scenario. But if Republicans win the election, if the injunction is not in place, I imagine the organizations fighting against SB4 will also ask for an emergency review from the Supreme Court to stop the law from coming into place. At that point, it is hard to tell what the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has ruled that laws similar to this before are unconstitutional, but when the Supreme Court ruled that, the court makeup was very different. Now leans conservative, pretty much 7-2, 6-3, whatever you may call it. So it's hard to tell what will happen next. For now, it's enjoined, and we'll take that victory and keep fighting.
So weeks, months, who knows, years, as many of these things play out. So with that, we'll go ahead and conclude. We want to thank everybody for joining us today, everybody who came in support, and we're hoping to continue the fight. Thank you so much.